Welcome, everybody, and thank you for taking some time out to check out this presentation. My name is Jasmine Basley, and I am an Area Redevelopment Manager in the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization. Today, I'm presenting on the first major decision point in our new housing policy, which is selecting target areas for our work. So please think about this question as we continue through the slides. Where is affordable housing needed most in Dallas? In April 2023, the City of Dallas passed a new housing policy, Dallas Housing Policy 2033, or DHP 33 for short. This is a 10-year policy that guides how the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization will work over the next decade. The overarching goal of the policy is to further the city's commitment to equity and reduce disparities in housing opportunities and outcomes. This presentation has three parts. First, it gives a brief overview of the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization, so you all can visualize some of our work as we talk about areas up for consideration. Then, we will discuss our new housing policy, DHP 33. And finally, the presentation explains what exactly an equity strategy target area is and how you all will help us narrow down 3 to 5 target areas for our work. So the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization has several roles and responsibilities. This slide summarizes how we work to develop and preserve affordable housing. We operate home repair programs. We also operate a down payment assistance program. We work to both preserve existing affordable housing and to build and develop new housing. Now, DHP 33 has 7 pillars of housing equity. The way you can think of it is that each of these pillars represents a strategy that guides how the department will implement the policy. Pillar 1 says we will select equity strategy target areas to make focused and concentrated investments. We will do this based on a review of historical disparities and current market conditions. Each pillar of our housing policy has several SMARTY goals, which act as little checkpoints and milestones over the 10-year implementation period. Community engagement starts now through December 4th, 2023 to support the selection of these target areas. Then we will continue with engagement in the selected areas. The Housing Department will announce our selected equity strategy target areas in January 2024. So this slide gives an overview of how we use data to identify possible target areas for consideration. So first, we use the City of Dallas's Equity Atlas to look at factors like poverty rates, economic status, household characteristics, and access to community resources. Then we layered in data on housing characteristics, homeownership rates, changes in property values, investment activity, and vacancy using our market value analysis. And finally, we also reviewed the potential for coordinating housing with other community investments. So we layered in potential investments through other departments here at the City of Dallas. And so here's the result of our analysis. From an equity perspective, all the areas highlighted have mid to high housing needs, including home repair, needing a variety of new affordable housing and increased homeownership opportunities. Their needs extend beyond housing to things like infrastructure, street maintenance, and public safety. All the highlighted areas should be considered for target areas. The red areas have higher economic and social vulnerabilities and more concentrated poverty. These areas are where priorities might be more affordable housing, but the condition of the properties that are there now might also need some investment, and there's more property vacancy and blight. These areas can use the programs offered by the housing department. The blue areas have slightly stronger housing markets and lower social and economic vulnerabilities. This could mean less concentrated poverty, and this could also mean higher access to community resources and amenities. These areas have less vacancy, less blight, and a larger portion of communities are seeing increased home values. Some housing programs can also benefit these areas. So we've grouped together the potential target areas by location. Here are the 11 areas that we are considering. It's important to note that these black borders you see drawn here are to give an idea of general boundaries, but are not permanent or set in stone. We realize that these may cut across or exclude certain neighborhoods, and that these might be adjusted when we actually narrow down the selected target areas. While you have a general overview of what each area represents, understanding the potential housing activities in these areas and all the areas of color is also important. The red areas again have higher housing needs. These areas are ideal for preservation work, for redevelopment, and repurposing vacant structures currently just sitting in disrepair. These may be more built out, but there's more concentrated multifamily and oftentimes less homeownership. Housing could act as a catalyst for pockets of new development in these red areas. The blue areas, these are areas that have a slightly stronger housing market. These are areas that are good for infill development. These are areas where there might be higher home ownership, so preservation opportunities may be needed. These blue areas might be in or bordering areas needing customized anti-displacement strategies. If you notice, they might be bordering areas that are not highlighted at all. They might also contain larger tracts of undeveloped land where new development opportunities exist. So let's look at the potential target areas a little more closely. Now, these areas are in Northeast Dallas. This area is, for the most part, built out. There's a high density at roughly 30 households per acre. The area has concentrated pockets of multifamily properties in need of repair and preservation. There's also lower home ownership rates at just over 15% compared to the other areas that we will consider. This area has a median sales price of roughly $203,000. And it's important to note that very affluent single family neighborhoods often border or surround these highlighted areas. The median household income is just over $37,000. These areas have well-developed commercial corridors and extensive transportation networks, and there is very little land that is vacant and available for housing. This area is in southeast Dallas. This portion of Dallas has pockets with the lowest density of any areas that we are considering, which includes larger tracts of undeveloped or raw land. The median sales price is slightly higher than the last selection, and they are very heavily homeowner occupied. There's more modest single family neighborhoods throughout these areas. And then you also have sprinkled in multifamily properties here and there throughout. These areas have not seen the same significant property turnover that some of the other areas in Dallas have started to see, and many of these focus areas would be ideal for a mix of new development and redevelopment opportunities. There's also opportunities for mixed use development, as many of these commercial corridors are being considered for redevelopment. These potential focus areas are in Southwest Dallas. The highlighted areas have the highest median sales price and the second highest median household income of any of the potential areas that we're considering. The area is in the middle as far as density, and there's not much large tracts of undeveloped land, but infill opportunities do exist. There's also an extreme amount of redevelopment and flipped properties. There's a higher risk of displacement in these colored areas. As you can see, check out around the stars. There are neighboring communities that are not highlighted at all. Now, finally, these areas are in Northwest Dallas. These areas are also rapidly changing. These are areas with some of the highest property turnover in the city of Dallas. This area is pretty dense. It's more comparable to the first quadrant we looked at in Northeast Dallas. The higher income neighborhoods are the ones experiencing significant redevelopment. There are fewer large lots, fewer vacancies in general, and less open land. The median household income is also the highest of any of the areas we've shown. More affluent neighborhoods surround the lower income pockets that you'd see, so they might feel additional added pressures as things continue to build out and mature. So let's discuss what we've reviewed today and then the next steps. Today we've presented on the 11 potential areas that we're considering. We'd like your feedback to determine what our biggest housing priorities should be and what areas we should be focused in. Do the areas we have highlighted capture the city's most pressing housing needs? Our goal, again, is to narrow down these 11 areas we're considering to 3 to 5 potential identified focus areas. We will be back in January 2024 to announce our selected equity strategy target areas, and then more localized community engagement begins. If you will, go ahead and take our housing survey. You can do so by scanning the QR code here or clicking the link on this page to fill it out. We will have the survey live from now until December 4th, and then we look forward to meeting back up in January 2024 when we present at HHSC and Council. Stay tuned for more.